You're listening to GotTech, the podcast, with your hosts, Eric Geis and Nick Johnson.
Welcome back, everyone, to GotTechED, the podcast. This is episode 5 called The Feud. In this episode, we'll discuss rubrics. We'll answer the teacher question of the day about personalized learning. We'll also take part in our first ever technology feud before our 5th tech battle Royale.
Hey, Nick, how you doing?
Doing pretty good.
I was telling you about my trip home. I ran into one of my buddies, and he asked if it would be okay if his little sister, contacted me to ask me a little bit about teaching and some of my past practices and some of the things that gave me trouble along the way. And I told him it would be fine. And then I immediately started thinking about some of the things that really, as a young teacher and moving into the middle years of my teaching to where I am now, some of the things that were problematic. And one thing I thought about was when I made the transition to kind of make my grading more based on standards and how it tied in with rubrics. And I know for me it was tough because when I first used standards-based grading and converting that to a rubric format, I felt like I was really participating in grade inflation. If you did this, you got this amount of points. If you did this, you got this amount of points. And I felt like everyone was meeting what I wanted them to meet at the basic level. For example, if I had 5 categories which I grade them on, it seemed to be, you didn't do it at all, you got a 0. You made a good effort, you got a 3. And then 5 is, it was there, everything was good. And really, I found that every student that got everything right, or they met that standard to that level, got the 5. But what I was realizing is my 5 was really the minimal requirements that I wanted my students to reach. So I really had to start thinking about how I did my standards-based grading and making categories and really transitioning my 5 to my average. This is the minimal requirements to be average. And it really challenged my students to go above average.
Right. So I think what you're saying is, like, instead of a 5 being the minimum requirements or just, hey, good job, you included this thing, that should actually be, at least if you're using like a 5-point scale, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, that should be more like a 3 towards the middle of the scale. So yeah, you included it. It's not great. You know what I mean? I saw better examples of how someone could have included this, but you have it. So maybe that gets you a 3 out of 5 or a 4 out of 5, and you can't really achieve the higher levels of that rubric until you've really gone above and beyond.
Yeah, so basically what I was seeing is I would look at all the projects after I graded it, and this is an A, this is an A, right. And you look at these 2 things, and hey, guess what? This one is something that looks like it could get published. Yep. And this thing right here looks like, okay, yeah, a 9th grader did do this, and it was a 9th grade assignment, and there's mistakes, but it wasn't enough. There weren't enough mistakes in there to dock them points based on the really pathetic rubric that I made.
Right. That happened to me my first year teaching. I did a project at the end of the year where kids they could choose any molecule, like any substance, really of their choice. I forget, I think I might have given them a list to pick from, whatever, but they picked a molecule and they researched it, had to come up with a presentation and like a ball and stick, like put the styrofoam balls, attach them together, or like gumdrops and toothpicks, I didn't care, but some kind of 3D model, all these different components. It's actually a pretty good project. Oh, they had to sell it. They were like salesmen trying to sell whatever their molecule was, so they had to talk about what it could be used for. And I haven't done it since, but it was actually a pretty good project. But I remember I gave out a whole lot of A's because I just made the rubric, I think it was a 4-point scale, and a 4 was the highest you could get. But it was kind of what we were just talking about. To earn a 4, 4s were really just a list of all the things they had to include. Like, you made a PowerPoint, you get a 4 for that part, or you made a 3D model. There was no description at those highest levels of what it should look like to do a really great job.
So basically it was a checklist.
It was a checklist, yeah, which is not what a rubric is supposed to be.
No, and I must say that I was guilty, definitely in my first 2 years, because I felt like I spent a lot of time thinking of new activities and new ways of doing stuff that, time was an issue.
Yeah.
And really what I should have probably done is collaborate a little bit and maybe have someone help me out, look over the rubrics and stuff like that. So I really think as a young teacher, as a new beginning teacher, really finding someone in the school building, it doesn't even need to be in your own subject. For the rubric part of it, anyone could look over a rubric and kind of say, hey, maybe this needs to be more detailed, or you could take this to the next level. But finding someone that you're comfortable with to make sure that you're meeting everything that you need to in order to have a good rubric,
right,
and to not participate in grade inflation. And really, all the grade deflation, in my opinion, does is demotivate students to become better. Because if anyone could get an A, it's really doing a disjustice to your students and their learning.
And you want to reward the students who do go above and beyond. Like you said, there's always a couple projects that are just stunning. You can tell the person put in a ton of work and they look amazing. And they should be, I think the score should reflect that, because they put in a lot more effort than other people. I do have, this is relatively recent, maybe just 3-4 years ago, I came across a rubric. I can't give credit to where this came from off the top of my head, but at the highest levels of the rubric, this one's a 5-point scale, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I just love the language that they used to describe what it takes to get a 5. The wording is that the content is unusually informative. And that's the part that I liked, just that it was unusually informative. That word unusual means, like, it kind of captured to me, like, wow, that's really those 2 or 3 projects that went above and beyond, that kind of caught your attention and make you as a teacher say, wow, that is really unusually awesome. So it says unusually informative, highly complex, rich, and containing difficult to find information, which is really hard to do. But if you're going to get a 5 out of 5, it should be, the expectations should be set pretty high.
So is that just a rubric that you found and you kind of printed out to take a look at, and then you saw it and you haven't been able to find that resource since?
I stole the language of unusually informative and containing difficult to find information, just because I thought that captured really nicely what it was when you see those amazing projects that really should get a higher score than others.
Yeah, it sounds like a great way to, word that. And I think the challenge for rubric creation is just figuring out where to make the cutoff levels, like what you have to do. And a good way of doing that is using Bloom's taxonomy. It's using some of those standards, like those frameworks, the IST standards, and really make sure that those driven descriptive words like you're engaged, you're creating, those type of words are really what you want to incorporate into your rubric, because it really gives them a basis of, am I really doing that? Am I just regurgitating information, or am I showing how this information is applied? And that's what we really want them to get.
Right. A rubric is you're just trying to be clear with your students about what you expect out of them. So if a 5 or whatever the scale is, the highest levels of the rubric are that you're looking for unusual information, hard to find information, highly engaged, extremely creative, then you just have to remember to include that terminology so that students know what they have to do in order to succeed.
All right. So if you're a young teacher or a teacher that's experimenting with standards-based grading, especially with the push of technology out there, you'll want to maybe pair up, collaborate, and start sharing new ways to put creative terminology into rubrics in a way that it's going to make students more motivated to learn and more creative in their projects.
You can follow GotTechED outside the podcast at gottech.com or on Twitter at WeGotTechED.
I think it's time to check in with our question of the day. This question comes from Selena, a special ed teacher who has a question about personalized learning.
Hello, my name is Selena Kerrigan, and I'm a special education teacher. My question for you is, what is personalized learning, and how is it different from traditional teaching practices?
So that's a great question. Personalized learning is a big issue these days in education, and it's something that a lot of teachers have been hearing about for a long time. It's not always called that. So, most people by now know the term differentiation. That really is just another way or a different ideology or idea surrounding personalized learning. Really, all we're trying to say, no matter what you call it, is that you're trying to provide multiple learning paths for students to meet as many different learning styles as possible. Of course, for us, we think technology technology is going to be a really big part of that. But the question of what is personalized learning is so broad. So I think, guys, there's a lot of different characteristics that we should kind of define for people to get a good image of what we mean by this term.
Yeah, not only are there a lot of different characteristics, there's a lot of different general practices of personalized learning. There are some school districts out there that look at personalized learning as a non-grading opportunity where it's just basically, have you met the check mark? Have you met that benchmark? Yes? Okay, we'll move on to the next one. And by the end of the school year, we need to reach this level. Or are students now creating portfolios, or where every benchmark they have to prove using an artifact? And they keep these portfolios in an area where at the end of the year they can present these portfolios and prove that they met the benchmarks. Both of these methods of personalized learning is really structured around technology. I mean, technology really aids personalized learning.
Yeah, it's fits in really well with the one-to-one mentality where every kid has some kind of a tablet or a laptop, something they can use to access content at all times, kind of at their own pace and at whatever place they feel most comfortable. Also, small groups, having your students form learning teams where they can meet with each other, meet with you, and discuss what options might work best for them to accomplish the goals you set out.
Yeah, so exploring those options, also identifying both short and long-term goals is important. And this is an easy way, along with daily assessment, is an easy way to get positive feedback to the students. I mean, when we think about assessment, it doesn't mean that we have to hand them a quiz every day. Maybe their assessment of, their progress is in a journal, and it simply just says, hey, what did you work on today? What benchmark were you trying to explore and really solidify? And where are you going from here? What do you have to do this week compared to, if you get everything that you have to do this week done,
right,
can you move on to what you need to learn about next, or learn in a more in-depth way if it really interests you?
A lot of it, too, going along with assessment, it should be based on mastery of concepts. So the student might progress through a series of learning tasks just based on whenever they have mastered that topic, which, again, kind of gives them the freedom to work and move at their own pace, and ideally also whatever level they're most comfortable with.
I really like the idea of moving towards portfolios, because when we think of portfolios, it doesn't mean that, hey, we're listing here, this is a piece of poetry I did to, meet this standard, but you can also include assessments such as your traditional ones, tests, quizzes, in as a artifact.
Yeah, a lot of times with this stuff, it sounds like those summative assessments are going away, and there might be less of them, but I think they still have a place just as one piece of the larger, I guess, like you said, the larger portfolio, and just a component of what your students put together to demonstrate that they have mastered a concept.
Yeah, so it's very important really to get your framework for personalized learning down. Like, what's it look like? How are students going to show you that they met a benchmark? How are you going to prove that they met the benchmark? And really being able to hold small group or individual meetings with your students is invaluable in this process. Without that, students can get left behind a little bit and dropped amongst the cracks. You really have to stay on top. So a lot of people worry that personalized learning is taking the teacher out of the equation, which I think is severely false. I think that a teacher is more mindful of the student and what really interests them and pushes them to learn.
Yeah, well, you have to get to know the students in your class. You got to talk to them. You got to figure out what they're into and what motivates them, and then you just design. Ideally, you design different avenues, different learning tasks, different ways to engage with the content. Based on that, you should be delivering your instruction with multiple forms of media. Maybe there's an image, like a graph or something they can use, a picture, videos, audio, if you know that certain kids are into listening to maybe a podcast that outlines some of the main points. There's all sorts of great online simulations. Interactive whiteboards are kind of a big thing too. Games, a lot of the gamification stuff, which we've talked about before. There's so many different avenues these days to present content that you should make as much available as possible to meet those different student needs.
If you had to say that one thing is extremely important to guarantee the success of personalized learning, what would you say? I'm going to give you a second to think about that because I'm putting you on the spot, but I will tell you mine. And feedback is monumental in this process, because if it takes you 2-3 weeks to get back to a student on going over their progress, well, that's 2 or 3 weeks where a student can kind of do nothing and get away with it. So you really have to establish a system that's going to allow you to make sure that you're staying on track. And that's the beauty of, the G Suite platform, because if they have to share something with you and you're able to kind of, be the eyes and go through each one of their projects or whatever they're working on, it allows you to provide feedback and comments, which could keep this going. And really, you could do this at any time.
Right. Yeah, feedback is huge for sure. I guess mine would have to be offering at least some options, giving the students some choice in the learning path they follow to accomplish a goal. Maybe just a simple 1, 2, 3, where the first one is a video with some kind of follow-up activity based on that. The second one it could even be as simple as the PowerPoint that you used to use to lecture to the class, if they can click through it and get some kind of information out of that. And the third one could be a simulation that you find online with maybe some guided inquiry questions that go along with it. I think that really captures what personalized learning is all about. Like, you could do this or this or this depending on what you like best or what you think might be most beneficial to you.
So there you have it. I mean, personalized learning, hopefully we gave you, a pretty good sense of what it is and how it can be useful in your class lessons. And I wouldn't go out tomorrow and just flip your whole curriculum and use personalized learning the rest of the year. I'd start with maybe a topic or a chapter or a small unit and see how it goes, and then reflect on your practice a little bit. But I think personalized learning is definitely something that schools are going to take a little bit more seriously and start implementing more and more as we get more involved with technology.
Yeah, just like with anything else, it's baby steps, but you try a little bit, and hopefully we've given you guys some good ideas to get started.
Over the last couple of weeks, I've been really ramping up my professional development. I know we had spring break, which allowed me to do a couple days over spring break. And some of these professional developments are very small group where there's 10, 12 teachers there, and a couple of them had several hundred people there. But anyway, I started to make a Google Forms quiz, basically, and it had 5 or 6 questions on there. And I got some teachers through the use of a QR code to easily access the form and provide me some feedback, and I turned the feedback into a little technology feud for you, Nick.
Oh, man.
So we're going to give this a shot. I have not revealed the question or any of the answers to Nick, and I just want to see how sharp he is.
That's true. This is the first time I'm actually really even hearing of this idea. Does that mean I'm the contestant in the whole thing?
Yeah, you're the contestant, and if this goes well, maybe we could have some type of a guest contestant to go against you.
All right.
But let's see how this goes. And for the first one, I chose the top 5 reasons teachers don't use technology.
Oh, all right.
So my question was, what is a reason why a teacher wouldn't use technology? So try to get yourself in that framework.
Do I pick one and I'm trying to get the most possible points or most possible picks from other teachers? Is that, like to get like Family Feud?
Kind of like Family,
right.
Not kind of, it is
okay,
exactly.
same thing, yeah.
Pretty much like the Family Feud minus all the
right.
the families.
All right. I get it. Okay, so that's a quick and easy one for me. I'm going to say time. Not enough time.
That one is definitely on there. That is number 2. So 21 people, 21 teachers listed time.
Okay.
Lack of time. So not having the amount of time to really learn the technology and implement it in, which is a fair argument. We hear time as a barrier of professional development. So, technology can be considered professional development.
Yeah. I mean, I threw that one out there right away because we both know maybe more than most people that this stuff can take a lot of time, especially if you're learning how to use some tech for the first time.
But the beauty on the spin of that is that once you have it, you have it.
Right.
If you use it in a Google Doc or a Google Sheet or something like that, you can easily transport that to the next invented system because there's ways of exporting your whole Google Drive.
What about just generally like fear, like uncomfortability?
I'll tell you what, you're knocking out the top ones. That was number 1. 41 people.
Okay.
41 teachers said that fear. So they don't know how to use a certain technology, or on the flip side, they're afraid to fail. I had to do some coding some data coding
Oh, wow.
for this. So I put both of those under the same category. So some people said that they don't know how to use the technology, and others were afraid for the technology to fail or for the lesson to fail.
Okay.
So one thing I will say to that, to kind of flip it, and I think it's important to kind of give a counter argument and just don't leave it at the negative, is that students appreciate you trying to make an effort to do something cool.
True.
Do something different. So I think we have to also look at it like that.
Absolutely.
All right, so now you're going to get into the tougher ones, and I feel like there's some buzzards coming.
Right. Man, I don't know. Maybe said lack of time or fear. Maybe inability listed on there. Like they just don't feel capable to do it.
Yeah, I can't give you that one. You're maybe skirting a couple, but
Yeah,
I mean, I feel like you're really throwing out vagueness there.
Right.
I need you to be more specific. So that's one strike.
Okay, how about let's refine that. Lack of knowledge. They don't know enough.
All right, I'll give you that one. I'll
Yes.
give you that. That's number 5, and we're going to go with personal experience. All right, whether or not they've tried to use technology before and weren't comfortable with it, or they had a bad experience because they didn't know the tech well enough to really implement it. So
Okay.
with that, I would say collaborate and always find someone that has used the technology until you're comfortable exploring technology on your own. Make sure you go to your tech integration specialists. A lot of your librarians are now becoming tech integration specialists. And I will tell you this, a lot of librarians are very, very good at finding the next best great things for you to use, the tools and everything. It's just how the librarian position is shifting.
Okay.
And another thing is sometimes they just know when you should stick to the basics. You know, there are a lot of good resources out there, databases and other things like that maybe you don't need to glorify something with a new flashy technology, but they might provide something for you to kind of just use in the meanwhile.
That was actually going to be my next pick. I don't know if I'm wording it the proper way, but what about if a teacher thinks that the traditional way is their better way? I don't know what.
There we go. I would say that's a winner. I called this humility,
Right.
or lack of humility.
Right.
Why fix something that's not broke? My traditional way is better. And it's a valid point. But I think that sometimes the traditional way, if you do it too much, it becomes dull and
Gets stale.
it gets stale. But at the same time, using technology all the time might not be the best way to meet your learners either. So I would say, hey, use both methods. It's a way to keep things fresh and keep things moving.
Teachers miss that one a lot. It just keeps it exciting, not only for the students, but for you too. If you're trying something new and different, I don't know, it sort of adds a little bit of flavor to your day just because you know you're getting to do something different. Also, learners change. The students you're teaching today are not the same. They have different backgrounds, they have a different upbringing, the whole society is different now than it was 10, 15, 20 years ago. So maybe some of the technology stuff will reach more students than a more traditional lesson might.
That's a great point. So you're down to the last one.
Last one.
And you have 2 strikes, and I'm gonna have to call you out on time if we take a little.
Yeah, I don't really know what else.
I hinted around it.
Yeah.
I will give you that clue.
Is it close to one of my other ones?
No, but I kind of made it close through my explanation.
I got nothing. I don't know. What is it?
That's what it is. It is another X. And I have a feeling because you can't come up with one now,
Yeah.
there's your
My final X.
There's
There
your
we
final
go.
X. And that's support. Support is the other one. And I brought it up with collaboration with the tech integration specialist, but also professional developments, which is where I got all my answers, is really go to professional developments and really put yourself out there to try new things. Because when you go to a professional development, a lot of times it's with people that might have heard of something cool and new happening, but they don't know how to use it either.
Right.
So you can go there and be kind of fearful and nervous at the same time with other people that are fearful and nervous. So I think it's a great way to get introduced to a new piece of technology and really learn valuable ways on how to implement it in your classroom.
How about this? If you're looking for support, just YouTube it. You can literally find anything you want to know how to do, which steps to follow, what to click, step-by-step screencasts of the whole process. That's how we set up this whole podcast thing. We didn't know how to do any of this stuff, but you just watch video after video, and eventually you got the whole thing going. So don't let support stop you, just because there is so much out there.
It's time for the Tech Battle Royale! That's right, we are back once again for the Tech Battle Royale, where Nick and I will face off, and I'm going to let Nick go ahead and describe some of the categories. We elected not to change them up.
Yep.
We're going to leave them the same as last time, but go ahead, Nick, and introduce the categories.
Sure. So we've got productivity, video, and screencasting, learning management systems, STEM, language, Google add-ons and extensions, fun and games, history, our new category from last episode, which is research, spinner's choice, teacher favorites, and student favorites. So with that, guys, why don't you go ahead and spin the wheel?
Spin the wheel. I think first off, we gotta announce that you did tie up.
Oh yeah, 2-2. So
It's a bold 2 for me, and 1 and a lightly bold stroke tally mark for Nick on the last one. It was a squeaker, let's be honest.
A win's a win. Anyways, the wheel.
All right, here we go.
Okay, and it looks like our category this time is the most fun category, fun and games.
Fun and games.
How does this work? Does the winner, I forget, is the winner supposed to go first or just choose who goes first?
I think I did it wrong last time.
Yeah.
I think I let you go first, and I told you I had the one that you had.
Right.
So we'll go with the original rules. You get to select. It's probably smart to go first. That way I don't take yours. But
yeah. All right, I'll go. I'm going to go first again. I think that's the stronger position, but plus mine's pretty cool. This is an educational one, but it's also it's just kind of fun. I played this with my wife one evening. We were bored just sitting around at home, and it's actually pretty cool. It's called Smarty Pins. Smarty Pins. It's a Google thing. The exact address is smartypins.withgoogle. That's all one word, withgoogle.com. We'll have the link, of course, in the show notes. Smarty Pins is really cool. It's a game built off of the Google Maps platform. Most people, I think, are pretty familiar with Google Maps. So when you go to smartypins.withgoogle.com, it'll bring up Google Maps, as like I said, as the platform, and it asks you questions using geographical questions using Google Maps. So here's an example. I'm looking at one right now. It automatically brings up a map of the United Kingdom and Ireland. And the question is, this city is the home of the Rolling Stones, Led Zeppelin, Queen, and the Sex Pistols. And it gives you a little red pin that you click and drag and move around, and the goal is to place the pin on the map shown wherever you think that is. So Rolling Stone, man, this is sad, I guess. Do you know that in England? I'd have to go. That's gotta be, I mean, London's the obvious choice. Anyway, so if I think London, I'm gonna put the pin on London, and then you click, that is your final answer, and it tells you if you got it right or wrong. Your score, you actually scored the lowest score possible wins, because the score is based on how many miles away you are from the actual answer.
So how many miles were you away on that one?
It was it's not even in the UK. It's in it's in Germany. That is crazy. It's in like Nuremberg, Germany. That is so weird. So I was super far away. So my mileage total is huge because I was way off, and I have a really bad score. But then you do the next one, and it gives you a different round. So this would be cool for any kind of geography class or anything where you want to let the kids kind of deal with maps. You could even have some kind of math application using the mileage between the different the answers in your particular pin drop. Plus, it's just kind of cool. Everybody loves looking around at maps from different places around the world.
All right, so Smarty Pins.
Smarty Pins.
Part of Google Maps?
Yep.
That's pretty cool. I'm going to go with mine. It's GooseChase.edu, and it's actually at www.goosechase.com. So it's a little tricky there because I wanted to put .edu, but it's actually goosechase.com, and the name of it is called GooseChase.edu. And basically, picture a scavenger hunt. So you can download the Goose Chase application or game platform. And the way that it works is teachers create a game, and they do that based on a game manager that's on their website, and they provide little missions for all the participants, and you can put your classes into groups, and based on their accomplishments, they earn points. So you can create a mission, choose whether the participants will submit a photo, video, text response.
Like, what's a mission? Can you give me an example of a mission?
For example, if a chem class is working on a lab, I'll make it close to your home.
All right.
If a chem class is working on a lab, which they're working on 5 different types of reactions, they can take a picture of an exothermic reaction, so one giving off heat.
Okay.
And if they can adequately show that, they would get those points. So it's a scavenger hunt. The teacher will build a game, make little random assignments that they have to do, little tasks, and then they will have to show proof. So you could either create your own game, or you can use a template from their library, and they have plenty of them out there. So that's GooseChase EDU at goosechase.com.
Awesome.
And like I said, there's a game library. They're going to use their phone. They could probably use their Chromebook as well to show proof that they are accomplishing these tasks, and it's a competition. There is a free option out there where you get one free game. So you could host one free game in up to 5 groups or 5 teams per game. For the free game, you can only have one live game, and you could have unlimited classes. And you have access to unlimited games, but you can only play one at a time.
Okay, that sounds pretty cool.
There are some other options, like it's $49 per educator per year, which gives you more. And then there's the educator premium, which is a little bit more expensive, gives you more options. And then they also have an option which you can get in touch with them and have it district or school-wide.
So you can make your own, build your own scavenger hunts.
Whether it's on the free platform or the ones with the price, you can create your own.
Oof, that's pretty cool. However this goes, I just want to say that for my London, England question, I never submitted the answer. The answer is indeed London, England. I don't know why I thought it was Germany. So I got that one right, even if I end up losing this.
That sounds like a very complex smarty pin platform.
I just want everybody to know that I picked London correctly for those bands.
Well, that's great.
All right, so let's go upsides. I mean, the upside to mine, smarty pins, is you don't have to do anything. I don't know if it's timeliness upside is all the questions are just in there. There's no way as a teacher that you can edit anything or make it your own.
However, that doesn't allow you to, as a teacher, bring content-specific questions into your classroom, which is a big downside where GooseChase.com allows you to make a game based on what you want. It gives you the freedom to choose your game or make your game and tailor it towards whatever learning objectives that you want in your classroom.
That's a big upside.
Yeah. I'm not sure if you're going to be able to beat that upside. I think you should probably just concede.
Only if you can answer this. This amazingly symmetrical snow-capped mountain is often depicted in Japanese art and photographs. I'm looking at a map of Japan.
Fuji.
Yeah, it is Fuji. How did you know that?
Well, smarty pins, smarty people.
Yeah, I mean, I got to give it to you. That's pretty cool. Obviously, as a teacher, you need the ability to build in your own questions and assessments. And smarty pins is super fun. I think people would enjoy it, even in their own time, just to kind of check it out. And it's maybe a one-off application for certain classes, but yours is definitely more versatile. So let's give it to Goose Chase.
So when in doubt, check it out. These are both 2 good ones. Make sure you take a look at them and go make your own Goose Chase and watch them hunt. There you have it. I take the lead again over Nick in our Tech Battle Royale. Series is now at 3-2. At some point, we're going to probably forget how many tech battles we've done and what the actual score is, but as long as I can remember, I'm going to just throw it out there so I have bragging rights for the week. I've outsmarted Nick in his use of smarty pins, and I sent him packing. I sent him over to goosechase.com to complete a scavenger remediation activity, and I hope that he fares better with that activity than what he did in this Tech Battle Royale. This week, I leave you with a quote and a challenge. Bob Feller once said, "Every day is a new opportunity. You can build on yesterday's success, or you can put its failures behind and start over again. That's the way life is, with a new game every day, and that's the way baseball is. In my opinion, education is a lot like the game of baseball, in that each day is a new day and a new opportunity. No matter how good or bad your lesson was the day before, you have the opportunity to make the next lesson better. I challenge you to try something new, whether it is a personalized learning activity or a goose chase. Make yourself vulnerable and expand your teaching repertoire. Your students will appreciate your efforts and the change of pace. Remember, the journey begins with the first step. Until next time, you can catch up with me on Twitter at GotTechED or Nick at NickGotTechED. You could also check out our website at www.gottech.com. Until next time, go out, try something new.